Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, into the one and only Straight Talk Homie podcast, Straight Facts Homie. Welcome in. The last time we spoke a month ago, we were not on the verge of a economical societal collapse, but here we are, not quarantined yet. It's Straight Facts Homie. I'm Mason Sousa. The real Jon Lyons of Dirty Water Media is here yet again. Walter Sabina, the brains of TCAM TV is also here.
In the building, live in the flesh, social distancing at its finest. Maybe we need to back up a couple more feet.
Move a little further away.
6 feet distance. We do have the long table here. Maybe it should have been the other side. It's all good. We have a wonderful setup here for you. We are on Twitter over here, Twitter Live. Facebook Live over there. Can you hear me over there? It's kind of far. Very comfy phone over there sitting on the couch. Some behind the scenes production work. But guys, welcome. Like I said, last time we spoke, someone halfway around the world coughed. We didn't think anything of it. And in the last week, we're kind of in a different universe. So sports talk has taken a little bit of a back seat to what has gone on in the world. We'll get to absolutely a lot of things happening, whether it's speculation or actual facts, as far as NFL free agency. But I'd like to hear from you guys. How has this impacted you? How will this impact NFL free agency? Because we don't know yet if March 18th is actually going to happen as a start of free agency. This may come. This is one of the things that has not been changed as of yet. Everything else has either been postponed, canceled, suspended, which is just absolutely unprecedented in the world of sports. So what a time to do a podcast, huh?
Yeah, I know. I feel like you said, a month ago, the biggest story in the world was where's Brady going to go?
Yeah.
And now even that has taken a little bit of a backseat, which is, didn't think that was possible, but it has happened.
Yeah. And you just look at that, it's going to, whenever he was going to make his announcement, whether it was going to be the first day of free agency, because, maybe a lot of people thought he was going to be the first domino to fall. It's bad press for him if he makes it sort of within this coming week. Like, oh, hey, I know we're all dealing with this, but sorry, New England, I'm leaving. It's just going to be absolutely bad press for him. So,
at least I won't have to take a day off from work to mourn. I'll already be quarantined.
Yeah. You could write from home and hopefully get paid for it. Hopefully this. I joke about it a little bit, but seriously, we know it's a serious situation. We hope everyone wash your damn hands, you filthy animals, and just take care of one another. Be smart about this situation, and we'll all get through this in hopefully just a few weeks. But with football itself, as I mentioned, we spoke a month ago, and we wanted to come back right before free agency began. I said some things changed, but not a whole heck of a lot. Factual evidence came out, especially when it comes to Tom Brady himself. It is so impressive how this has been sealed, lock and key. Like, no one knows what Tom Brady's going to do. There's been so much speculation, which we'll get to. There's been apparently a phone call between Belichick and Brady that didn't go so well. There's reporters on both sides of the fence saying he's coming back. I'll be shocked if he doesn't come back, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I'll pose the question. Since the last time we spoke, right before we went off air on Straight Facts, which, by the way, we're on. Where are we on? We're on Spotify. We're on maybe SoundCloud. We're on Google Play. Wherever you get podcasts, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Straight Facts Homie. You can find the links there. But I believe, I don't want to speak for you, but I want to say both of you guys, John and Walter, you agreed with me that Tom Brady will return as a member of the New England Patriots. Do you still believe that?
I do, but it's still, early in the season, I was like, oh, yeah, he's 80% coming back, 90% coming back. And then, after they lose in the wild card round, it's like, maybe it's 60-40, 70-30. I'm right at about 55-45 right now. So, yes, I still believe it, but I think it's become a lot closer to departing than even a month or two ago, and I think, and we can get into this kind of as we go, but even some of the moves that the team has made over the past few weeks kind of leave some credence to maybe they don't think he's, or they don't, I don't want to say they don't want him back, but that they're not going to get into some protracted negotiation and give him a bunch of money. So I think I'm definitely much more closer to him leaving than I've ever been before.
No, and I agree with that. Is he looking at, but it's almost like there's three different scenarios you can look at for Brady. It's the team that he's going to. How can they compete for a championship? I think location definitely has to play in a factor with his wife and kids and stuff like that. New England's fine. They've been his home for the last 20 years, but let's move someplace warm. They're down in Costa Rica this week, enjoying the warm weather down there, and obviously here in Tampa Bay. And then the third one, I think it's his business location. He wants to keep expanding on that TB12 brand. So whichever one can check off the most boxes for him, I think that's where he's going to go. I don't know if New England checks off all three for him, but maybe LA, if they can get a team together around him that can immediately compete. So I think it's just really what checks off those three boxes or most of them.
I wonder if he's going to be allowed back into the country to actually meet with some teams, or some teams meet him.
If do some negotiating over the phone,
over the old-fashioned way. Get on the phone and figure it out.
Instagram Live.
Yeah, absolutely. A big team that has come up in the past maybe half a week now is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Looking back at it, just maybe not the name, maybe not the location. Tampa, obviously it's warm there. You mentioned, Giselle and the kids. She went on Instagram Live saying, someone asked, where are you going to be living this year? Indicating, like, where's Tom Brady going to play? Which I thought was a great question to try to, where is your quarterback playing? Where are you going to live? Great question. And she answered, she's like, I don't know yet, but hopefully somewhere nice. And as we know, New England sometimes isn't that nice.
For about we got 4 months or so that are nice, solid months. But probably not as much as Tampa.
Traffic is actually the worst, but this week it's actually been one of the best. I went up to work just the other day, and it was the best traffic in the world because everyone is quarantining themselves, which I digress. But the point is, looking back at it, the Bucs have a good team. Mike Evans, Godwin, very good defense. As I mentioned again, good area, winnable division. You play the Saints, but I don't know. There's a lot of teams. There's mystery teams that have come out. And to answer my initial question that I posed to both of you, I think he's gone now. I think he's playing somewhere else because there has been so many red flags that have just shown that it's not working out for a 21st season. You can look to, they've gotten through so much. Don't count out the Patriots. Obviously, don't count out the Robert Kraft situation, maybe swooping at the last second. There's a report that, listen, Bill Belichick talking to Robert Kraft, listen, you got in the deal with Garoppolo and Brady. It's my turn this time. I don't know. Kraft can still swoop in at the final moment. He is the owner. He has the capability to do that, to sweeten the deal. Or to, if, John, you mentioned whether Bill Belichick even wants Brady, obviously we can all agree that Robert Kraft still wants Tom Brady. So, let's see if he does uses his magic to, overstep the coach, and that could be even more tension down the line. Or who knows, maybe Bill Belichick says, see ya. This is the last time. That maybe is a side topic. We could get into it if you want, but like I said, there's so many red flags that say that it's not working out for a 21st season in New England. And there's been so many instances where obviously Joe Montana, and the list goes on, Brett Favre, whatever, where it's so difficult to stay with one final team. And obviously this is, the greatest of all time.
In Boston, we had Paul Pierce, right? He was here forever. Ended in a different uniform. I mean, David Ortiz, who, one of our heroes here, he ended with us, but he was in Minnesota for several years before he came. So we've seen, in Boston, the only guys we've had in recent memory with their teams the whole time, I guess, is Brady as of now.
Yeah.
Patrice Bergeron. That's pretty much it. Even Pedro ended up finishing his career somewhere. So Nomar, all these guys. So, we've seen whether they've ended here and started somewhere else or started here and ended somewhere else. We've seen it right here at home with some of our biggest stars and champions, over the past 20 years.
Right. I absolutely agree. And the bottom line is, can he still play? I believe he does. We'll see if Bill Belichick wants to cut the cord, go to the kid, stid the kid, or draft and, you know what? I want to build a new team, make my own legacy before I retire. So, again, I'm not sure where he's going, but the writing has been so much on the wall the last 3 months, or even the last month, I should say, since, I last changed my mind, that I think he's playing elsewhere.
And I think the key to the whole thing to me is Tampa Bay, because I think Tampa Bay is the one team up front is going to give him everything he wants. They're going to give him, we'll give you 3 years at $100 million. We'll give you control over the offense. We'll give you say in personnel. And then, as you mentioned, they have Mike Evans. They have Chris Godwin, right? They have a good young defense, right? Devin White's there. They have, they're drafted pretty well over the last few years. So Bruce Arians, a very quarterback-friendly head coach who has already basically said, yeah, I'm willing to adapt for Tom Brady. So if Brady really is willing to go to Tampa Bay, that's going to, I think, change the dynamic in a lot of ways, because I still think there's a part of the Patriots that are like, are you really going to leave? Are you really going to? And then also
playing a dangerous game.
Right. But not only would that spur the Patriots to maybe be a little more aggressive, if you're the Tennessee Titans or you're the Chargers and you say, oh, wow, he's really willing to go to Tampa Bay and they're going to give him this, maybe we have to up our offer. And that's how you get that bidding war. And that's how you get teams being more aggressive. And I think that's really what will lead to Brady leaving. I think Tampa Bay is the key to the whole thing, because they're the ones that I think on day one, the league year opens at 4 p.m. At 4:01, they'd be willing to sign him and give him everything he wants. And I think if he's willing to really go there, and teams really believe that he's willing to go there, that changes the dynamic a lot. That maybe then the Titans maybe go from 2 years at 50 to 3 years at 85 or 90. And I think that changes it quite a bit. And Tampa Bay, honestly, football-wise, like I said, I think it's a pretty good fit. I think Brady, throughout his whole career, Brady has always made guys better. And I think one thing we've seen over the last 2 years is he's not done that quite as much. Not that he hasn't made guys better, but you look at the Super Bowl year, he's still, Edelman's the Super Bowl MVP, Gronk's still a major piece, Hogan's there making big plays. And then last year, it looked great the first couple weeks of the year with Josh Gordon, Antonio Brown, but then when some of these other guys, younger guys, newer guys got in, you didn't see a huge progression. Like even you go back to 2006 with Rashae Caldwell, Jabbar Gaffney, Doug Gabriel, probably the worst group of skill players Brady's ever had.
Yeah.
Good defense, terrible skill players, but they still were a possession or two away from going to the Super Bowl. Probably would have won it. And I think that, 2010, Gronk and Hernandez, rookies, new guys. Moss gets traded during the year, but Brady still is a unanimous MVP. So I think that I don't want to say that he's not that good at it, because he's still really good, and 70% of Tom Brady, I think we can agree, is better than 100% of the vast majority of the quarterbacks.
Yes.
But I think now is a time where he needs a little more help, and where else to get it than Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So I think, to me, like I said, Tampa Bay is the key to this whole thing, I think.
And looking at Tom Brady, looking from a competition standpoint, say he does go to Tampa Bay and it does sort of propel them over the edge, that's a lot of good teams in the NFC. You got Tampa Bay, even just within the division, if the Atlanta Falcons can get to where they should be on paper, the Saints are going to be the Saints. Even going out of the division, the Seahawks are only going to get better. The Packers, maybe the Vikings. And him going to the NFC essentially locks up the AFC for the Chiefs. I would assume for the next 5 years.
And you don't sleep on San Francisco either. They have a fourth quarter lead in the Super Bowl.
Yep. So the Rams, they finished 9-7. I fully expect them to be back next year.
You got to think. I know this is a couple years away, but even Arizona, they're going to get better. You see a lot of teams in the NFC. Dallas might be the most talented roster in the NFL. So and now they finally have a legit coach.
Yep.
You're right. The NFC is an uphill battle for Brady for sure. So that's why I think, again, like Tampa Bay being in that NFC, does he really want to go there?
Yeah. So I think there's like a list of factors that sort of go into it. Obviously, competition is just one of the many, and going to the NFC, like you just mentioned, is such an uphill battle for him. Where the AFC, you come back to the Patriots, you're still arguably the second best team in the AFC behind the Chiefs only.
Or even if you go to the Titans and you're looking at the Colts still haven't figured out their quarterback situation. The Jaguars are kind of in disarray. Houston's legit, but Houston hasn't got to even a conference championship game. No. So it's like you're probably going to win that division, if you go there. So I think, the AFC is definitely an easier road. I think you're right to get to that Super Bowl. And that probably is an important factor, because if you're going to leave, why leave to suck? You're going to want to leave so you can prove that, hey, I'm still really good.
But at the same time, you mentioned the factors in balancing what his mindset is. We know what kind of ridiculous competitor Tom Brady is. And if, people like us saying like, oh, your best chance to win is with the New England Patriots, with the AFC East on the AFC side of things. Doesn't he look at that, you know what, like I've done and I think this was one of his many social media posts. He's a grade A troll, that Tom Brady. How he's learned to troll us is just remarkable. Maybe he has a certain guy for it. Anyway, he's like, all right, I'm going to prove you wrong once again. I'm going to go to the NFC with all those 7, 8 very good teams. And I'm not to compare him because, I believe, he's synonymous with the game, Tom Brady is, but kind of to like what LeBron did. I'm going to move to the Western Conference where, there's so much better teams, a similar situation with the NFL, and they're the number 1 seed over there. Tom Brady can say, listen, I can do that too.
And
I'm going to be 43 years old, but you know what? I'm still going to take my team to the promised land because I know I'm still that good.
And I think that definitely could be the competitiveness factor, the 199th overall draft pick, because that still sticks with them. I mean, his new production company is 199 Productions.
Yeah.
So
hey, if you need a podcast, 199 Productions.
Yeah, I think that still, and that's why you think like, are there any dark horse teams here? Teams that we're not talking about, we're not thinking about, and the only teams I can really think of are also NFC teams, and that's the Vikings and Lions. Matt Patricia, former Patriots coach, whispers they want to move on from Stafford. Brady would really elevate them. They play 9 games a year in a dome, 8 there, plus the road game in Minnesota. Vice versa, Minnesota, probably a team even more ready to win right now. Is Kirk Cousins going to win you a Super Bowl? I don't think so. But, I think so. That's why even the dark horse teams to me are NFC teams. I think this is an NFC-heavy bidding war. If it gets into a bidding war, it's an NFC-heavy bidding war.
If you are a Patriots fan, side note, would you mentioned the Lions, would you trade Brady for Stafford one-on-one?
I think if Brady really isn't going to come here and doesn't want to be here, yeah. Because Stafford is good enough, and I think with good coaching, Josh McDaniels will be the best offensive coordinator Stafford's ever had.
Oh, no doubt.
And Bill Belichick will be the best head coach he's ever had. So I think that's a factor. And I think, and he'll have probably the best defense he's ever had. And I know there's some influx, and we can talk about later. McCourty, Van Noy, some of those guys might be moving on, but it's still probably one of, if not the best defenses he's ever had. He won't have to play Aaron Rodgers twice a year, so he won't have to play the Bears defense twice a year either. So I would actually lean that, even though obviously Brady's much better and what has Stafford ever proved in prime time,
right.
I think I would really consider that. The issue there is the money, because if you're not going to pay Brady the money, Stafford makes a lot more than you'd have to do some restructuring there.
Mm-hmm. Even I'm just looking at a website right here. Reportedly, the Patriots offered Tom Brady a 1-year deal at less than his 2019 salary.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that didn't really go over too well with Brady. So, that's obviously got to be a...
Is that new, or was that the supposed conversation on the phone?
This was 19 hours ago, reported from Dale and Keefe on EEI.
Yeah, I saw
that. Belichick mentioned that, because we have the $13.5 million cap hit, we're going to offer you a 2-year deal at, X number of dollars. And supposedly that's what they were offering Brady, and I'm assuming Brady didn't really care for that too much.
Yeah, that's
another X factor
John Lester
here too.
situation, low ball.
The CBA. The CBA gets approved, and now you can spread more money out over years. It makes it easier to offer Brady 25. But right now, Bill has a point. We'll get $13 million in dead money if you wait till after Wednesday to sign here. I can't give you 30 because then we're accounting for 43 just for the quarterback position. So if they signed him today, that's only $6 million of dead money. It makes it, but still, then if you sign him to a $25 million a year contract, now it's still $31 million tied up in one guy.
Yeah.
So I think the new CBA is kind of another kind of X factor type thing where if it gets approved, it's a huge advantage for the Patriots. You
mentioned the Bucs though, like they'll ready day one CBA or not, minute one.
Right.
I'll offer you $100 million guaranteed. Come here. So he's, hey coach. Brady talking, hey coach. This team's ready to do this. They're not scared about a CBA not being approved. Why can't you do the same? So. The whole thing's very interesting, and I don't think Tom Brady's waiting. With CBA or not, whether it's unfair to Belichick and the Patriots or not. This was his own year to be a free agent, and
first time ever.
Unless the coronavirus pushes the start of the new year even further, I think day one or even tampering period in the next coming days, we're going to see something official. This team, such and such, has offered this, and they're likely to sign Tom Brady.
Yeah. Now. Question for you guys. I think this is a unique situation. If I'm the Patriots, I'm almost okay with teams tampering with Brady. So you know what his market is. And then if you know what his market is before Wednesday, maybe then you can try to work out that extension for the less dead money. And if he's going to leave, he's going to leave anyway. So it's a rare situation where I'm almost okay if somebody tampers with him and it gets back to me that he's going to get 3 and 100 and he's going to take it, and I just know he's gone. Or maybe his market is paltry and it's 2 years at 40, and okay, I can match that and we can do it early. I don't know. What do you guys think? But I'm actually kind of okay with it.
I mean, that could be the risk that, Brady's taken. Let me go out, get these offers. Hopefully someone offers me, a lot. So maybe the Patriots have to up their offer a bit because maybe in my heart, New England is really where I want to be. But it's almost like a high risk, high reward because, we mentioned, what was it, a month ago when we did the podcast, the Raiders had just offered him or were set to offer him like 2 years, $60 million.
Right.
But if someone comes out and is like, you are 43, you didn't really have that great production last year, maybe even the year before, so we're going to drop it a little bit. And I don't know, it just could come back to bite Tom Brady where maybe what the Patriots are offering is really what his market could end up being. But I 43 years old, it's Tom Brady. Someone's going to overpay for him.
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, just for a PR purpose. One owner, like you mentioned, Mark Davis, is just going to let's just do it just to do it. Just win, baby. But yeah, you mentioned tampering. Yeah, it works if the player brings it back or news comes out.
Which I think it would. I think with somebody as big as Brady, either he'd come back to Bill or it's just you hear about it.
But why hasn't anything really... Well, not everything's been circumstantial, but nothing definite has really come out in the first month. You gotta believe tampering has already happened. It's just just the name of the game. Tampering happens in every single sport at every single time of the year. I would just think, as you mentioned, Walter, the Raiders last month. They gave that Larry Fitzgerald Sr. was offering that money from the Raiders. I just feel like that would come out by now, especially as, the greatest of all time, and for a PR purpose. Even if he's over the hill, it's still, we want Tom Brady.
But I wonder if that's part of the reason, like Walter was just saying, that Belichick kind of lowballed Brady, that maybe he's heard whispers that the market isn't going to be that big. And so he says, well, all right, we'll give you, $18 million. Or we'll give you $17 million because of your dead money. And then maybe he's heard that the most Brady's getting from other teams is 20. So, okay, we'll give you $3 million less, but you'll get to stay here. So I wonder if maybe that plays into the maybe it doesn't, but maybe that plays into the calculus too.
I'll be one thing I'll tell you I'll be absolutely shocked about is if one team does not offer him annually $30 million a year. I will be shocked.
Well, and you look at over the next 2 years, how many guys in the NFL do you think are going to be better than him? Like, sure, there's going to be like Russell Wilson, Rodgers, Mahomes, but it's not like there's going to be 14 or 15 quarterbacks better than him.
Right.
And if you look at the top 6, 7 quarterbacks, they're all in that $30 million range. You're right. I mean, and that might be what it takes to get him to come to you.
Yeah.
So,
and not to compare again to other sports, this is the second time I've done this, but like look what the Toronto Raptors did last year. They went all in on a rental player and they won the championship with Kawhi. There has to be one team that you know what, we've been mediocre, we've been laughed at, the Tampa Bay Bucks, even though they won in 2002, but they've been mediocre, a joke organization, whatever, such and such.
Haven't made the playoffs since what, 2007? I want to say,
or was it since they won? They haven't won the playoffs.
No,
maybe haven't won a playoff game.
The wild card round in 2007, they lost to Eli Manning en route to the Giants winning that Super Bowl.
That's right.
And I think that's the last time they've made it.
And so they haven't won an actual postseason game since they won.
I think you're right, yeah.
In Super Bowl 37, I believe. So, yeah, you know what? We're tired of this. We're tired of waiting. This whole process of rebuild, it's not working. Yeah. Let's just go for a one-time thing. And if it doesn't work, we tried. We tried something for our fans. We showed our organization that, listen, we are tired of waiting around, and we're going to give it a shot. There has to be one of these 31 other teams.
I think there's more than one. I think Tampa Bay's that team. I think Tennessee's that team.
Maybe San Francisco. Jimmy Garoppolo.
When was San Francisco won in what, 93, 94?
Yeah.
That range? Mm-hmm. So Tennessee, I mean, they got 1 yard away in 1999.
That's right.
Or, so it's like I think there's actually several teams in that boat.
I would think so. That was a lot of Brady talk. Let me play a little game with you guys right now. We don't need to spend a lot of time with it, but to be fair to the other quarterbacks in the league, I will read off the name and you tell me if they're staying or going. We can, if something triggers something, we can get into a bigger conversation with that. So obviously, Tom Brady, you both are still think he's staying.
Yeah, it's close though.
It's super close. It's absolute close. I'm leaning go. How about Dak Prescott?
I think he stays.
Yeah, I think they franchise him.
Okay, if it's a franchise, then say after do you think they come to a long-term deal? Cowboys and Prescott.
I think it's contentious, but I think eventually they do. But I think it is going to be contentious, and it could hurt the Cowboys over the course of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, now you're franchising him. Now you got what's going to happen with Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
and you've already given Zeke a load of money.
Right. So you're going to have a lot of money tied up on just 3 guys if you do re-sign all 3 of them. Well, the other 2.
I believe Jerry Jones will spend the money on the quarterback. I think he's staying. Drew Brees.
He's already kind of come out and said that he wants to be with the Saints again. I'd be really surprised if he went somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go stay. Didn't the Saints say they want to keep all 3 quarterbacks?
Yeah, or well, they I think they are in negotiations, or they're considering franchising Hill. And Brees said he wants to stay, so I think at
franchising
minimum,
Hill as what?
That's
a special teamer?
Athlete.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an athlete designation on the tag.
Yeah, right. Imagine if Hill gets a quarterback franchise tag. Be like, okay, sure.
We franchised the quarterback, but it wasn't
all the
Drew Brees.
One thing on that, there was a report, I think it was Jay Glazer of Fox. He's like, the Saints have their franchise quarterback in Taysom Hill. Your franchise quarterback does not play gunner on special teams.
Well, beyond the 2, he's already 30.
That's right.
People forget that
I didn't
about
realize
Taysom
that
Hill.
about him.
He's
He's
30.
old.
So
Man.
let's say Brees plays 2 more years. So he's not taking over till 32. Hasn't played it full time, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So if you hit it right, he might not be good till 34, and maybe it's a 4-year window. That's kind of risky.
Maybe?
It's kind it's kind of risky.
Yeah.
Could he? And look, I think he's a really good player, and I love watching
Great
him.
athlete, yeah.
But if he was 25, I'd feel fine about it. But I worry with him already being 30. Well, what if Brees wants to hang on 2 years? What if he wants to hang on a 3rd year?
Yeah.
You know, what do you
Unless
do?
he's just a long-term bridge quarterback that
Yeah.
they keep there. Hey, we can transition because we know you'll be that bridge for us.
You'll be at least competent for us. Yeah.
Speaking of bridge, how about Teddy Bridgewater?
I think he's gone.
Do you have an idea where he might? There's so many teams, I know, not to put you on the spot,
Right. Well, if Brady leaves, I would want the Patriots to pursue Bridgewater.
but do you think that would be the ideal? Not a replacement, but maybe the bridge for Bridgewater to, maybe
I think so,
get
because,
someone high in the draft or something.
Before Bridgewater had that, devastating injury with the Vikings, he looked like a
was very
really
good.
good, young, promising player, and he's still now talk about the age thing. I think he's only 27.
Yeah,
So
27.
he's can come in and I don't want to say learn a system, but he can come in and really take over and build his own thing. So, but I think it's going to be a domino effect. Brady will go somewhere, then Rivers will go somewhere, and then I think that next tier, that Bridgewater, Winston, some of these other guys, then they're going to be in that tier. So wherever Brady doesn't go, Rivers doesn't go, that's where you're going to see Bridgewater.
All right. You any thoughts on?
Yeah,
Teddy
I think
Bridgewater?
he's gone. But I was just going to mention, usually you hear, negotiations or, this team's ready to offer this quarterback. And we mentioned it last show. Brady has to be the first domino to fall because none of these other quarterbacks are being talked about. We're gonna go after this guy. There's a little bit of talk of the Titans offering a deal to Ryan Tannehill to sort of gain leverage on Tom Brady, but everything's just Tom Brady. Where's Tom Brady going to go? And then the dominoes are going to fall after that. So it seems like all these teams that need a quarterback are at least taking a flyer on Tom Brady, and then if we don't get him, we'll fall back with the Jameis Winstons, the Teddy Bridgewaters, the Ryan Tannehills. So I don't know. It's just funny that Tom Brady is the top domino, and they're not willing to go down the line. They want this guy first. So, but in regards to Teddy Bridgewater, yeah, I think he's gone. It's just wherever Brady's going to go, and then we'll find out where all the other pieces fall into place.
You mentioned Tannehill with the Titans. The craziest thing I've heard, or one of them, obviously in a crazy time we live, but in the sports world, talking about, I think it was Diana Rossini on ESPN, just talking about, the Titans want Tannehill. He is their priority. And that just makes me laugh out loud so hard. I understand he was the hottest quarterback in the second half of the year. He had a ridiculous touchdown to attempt ratio or something like that. Something that Mahomes did. Mahomes did his rookie year. and actually seemed like he was going to be the only quarterback to repeat if he didn't have that injury. But he's not this quarterback. Like, it was similar to when the Jaguars gave Nick Foles all that money, and now they're thinking, we're just going to go with Gardner Minshew after giving him all this money, and he didn't even last a game, Nick Foles. But Ryan Tannehill, do the Titans re-sign him, or is he going somewhere else? Or do you even care?
I think it's closely related to Brady, and because I'm thinking Brady stays here, I'm going to also say Tannehill stays in Tennessee.
And they overpay him ridiculously.
Yeah, he's going to get a boatload of money.
Because they've got to get Derrick Henry back, too, who's also an unrestricted free agent. So that's going to be a lot of money tied up with just those two guys.
They would probably have to lose their guard or tackle, Jack Conklin.
Yeah. This is an interesting offseason for Tennessee because you just went to the conference championship game. You beat New England and Baltimore on the road. You have a good, young, promising team, but
can't screw this up.
If you overpay for Tannehill and you overpay for Henry, you're going to start losing pieces in other areas. And if you don't draft well enough and you don't replace them well enough, you're just going to be 9-7 every year. So I think this is really, like, they're obviously well coached. We know that. They have some really good pieces, but it's one of those, like, you got to get this year right. And if you don't, it's really going to hurt you over the next 5 years.
Yep. And then in like regards to Tannehill, it's not like a Brady where you can take these team-friendly deals because you know you're still going to be good over time, or at least like Brady had that confidence in himself, where Tannehill kind of was subpar when he was with Miami. So it's like, now I just had a good season, made it to the AFC Championship game. I need to cash in and get the money. So he's not going to take a team-friendly deal with the Titans. And then I'm sure Derrick Henry's still young enough that he, you sort of see it as a pattern with young guys. It's like when they come to their contract year, they're going to go for that boatload of cash.
Yeah.
And then
especially
the older
the
older you get these team-friendly deals that sort of help you build around the team. But both of these guys are young enough and at a point in their career where they need to cash in right now, and that may come back to hurt the Titans if they do sign them both or overpay for both.
Yeah, it's an incredible offseason from a general manager standpoint for the Tennessee Titans. We'll see if they do things right. A couple more real quick before we move on to other thoughts. Jameis Winston.
Gone. I don't think they like him that much there.
I mean, Philip Rivers. We'll get to Philip Rivers in a second, but he essentially moved to Tampa.
Yeah.
But then again, Tampa comes in, is interested in Tom Brady.
If they don't get Brady, I think they get Rivers.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the way.
I think Rivers is already set on reserve for them.
Yeah.
And the Chargers get Winston, and then Tom Brady stays.
I
in
just
New
think
England.
Winston. I mean, he's obviously had some of the maturity issues, the decision-making issues on and off the field. I think a change of scenery might do him, because the talent's there.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think he might be a change of scenery guy will do him really well.
Yeah, a change of scenery to Los Angeles. Imagine that.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Okay, I believe, yes, he is gone. Bruce Arians was talking about it in season. They're like, yeah, if we can win with this quarterback, talking about Jameis Winston, we can win with any quarterback.
Yeah.
I love Bruce Arians. He just tells it like it is. He just does not give AF. So Philip Rivers, where is he going? Because the Chargers have basically said no to him.
If Tampa doesn't get Brady, he goes to Tampa. And if Tampa does get Brady, he goes to one of those teams somewhere in this, like, could be a Tennessee, somewhere in that. Because if he lives in Florida now, I think it's going to be somewhere in that area.
Could you see the Rivers? Could you see the Patriots getting Rivers at all?
I could, but then it's the same issue with Brady in that you have this dead cap money, and if you don't want to pay it to Tom Brady, do you want to pay it to Phil Rivers?
Right.
You know,
depends what the market is for a guy like Philip Rivers. So.
Okay, I had Marcus Mariota, which you mentioned Teddy Bridgewater, John, about if Brady is gone, you would like Teddy Bridgewater. I secretly like Mariota on a cheap contract. You know, he was the second overall pick for a reason, and I believe Josh McDaniels is fond of Marcus Mariota. I think that could work. I don't think he's a total disaster. I'm not saying they're going to win a championship the next year with him, but so many people are scared of Mariota, and I'm not so sure why.
I think, first of all, I think he's gone, obviously.
Tennessee, yes.
But then, I don't know. I'm leery because he was second overall pick, and I feel like each year in the league, he's gotten worse, or at least over the past 2-3 years. So I'm really leery, but you're also right in that new system, probably the best offense coordinator he's seen.
Cheap deal.
Then I think it's one of those that, like, yeah, if he's making $1 million, I'll take a flyer on it, and maybe he'll be great, And if not, okay, you're out $1 million. Like, what, in a $200 million salary cap,
yes,
you can be okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you mentioned like a cheap deal. Like you mentioned with Jameis Winston, just maybe a change of scenery could do him in. Got young guys, something to build around. And like you said, if it doesn't work out, yeah, already got the dead hit with Brady you're dealing with. It's only $1 million or $2 million off the books for Mariota, so why not take the flyer and then just move on if it doesn't work out?
And finally, wrapping up the quarterbacks, do any of these 4 quarterbacks get traded? Cam Newton, Andy Dalton, Derek Carr, Jacoby Brissett.
Well, my dream scenario if Brady left would be to trade for Cam Newton, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Dalton would be the one because, I mean, they're going to pick Burrow first overall, and they're so far away from contending that I'm surprised they would even keep A.J. Green. I think they're just going to do that because Joe Burrow wants him there. I think they're a team that they should trade Dalton, they should trade Green, they should get multiple first, second, third round picks, and then they should really look at 2022 as a year that, okay, we're going to be really good again. You know, I just think Dalton's the guy to me that I don't see him being there next year.
What do you think? Out of those guys, Newton, Dalton, Carr, Brissett.
Well, in regards to the Chicago Bears, I believe their offensive coordinator has ties to Andy Dalton at some point throughout Dalton's career. So I believe if Dalton is to get traded, and a lot of the points John made, you know, there are valid points, I could see him being traded to the Bears because they want a veteran quarterback either behind Trubisky or in front of Trubisky, just someone there on the sideline with him.
Good quarterback.
So, yeah. And, you know, whether you believe Andy Dalton is good or not is up for debate. But I would think Andy Dalton's really the only one. I believe the Panthers signed Kyle Allen to another 1 or 2 year deal. Yeah. So, I mean, that could just be for depth in the case that Cam Newton is maybe at this point in his career becoming more and more injury prone. So I would just say Andy Dalton's really the only one because I think the Colts are kind of, I'm not going to say set on Jacoby Brissett right now, but content with what he can give them.
Okay. I agree. Dalton is definitely a piece. The Bengals have made him available. But I also think if the Raiders are truly in on Tom Brady like they said a month ago, maybe it's time to make a move. And if they are one of the finalists, maybe they make a move with Derek Carr. Like, listen, we are serious. We want Tom Brady to be the face of the Vegas Raiders, and what a scene that would be.
Yeah.
What else you guys have? I see you have a lot of papers over there.
Well, no, so I think, I mean, we talk about Brady, and obviously, you know, that's the story, and that's the big guy. But the Patriots are also, like I mentioned with the Titans, they're in a really interesting spot this offseason because you know, they just picked up the option on Jason McCourty. They just re-signed Matt Slater. Also, who knows? Does that? I mean, that's $7.5 million tied up next year. Is that linked to Brady's contract offer too?
Right.
That's a side note. But you know, Kyle Van Noy, a guy who's played really well for you, especially in the postseason, is going to be a free agent. Devin McCourty, you know, besides Stephon Gilmore, he's probably your best defensive back, and he's been here for, you know, been a captain forever. You know, he's been here 10 years now. Still a really good player. You know, Patrick Chung's getting older. Duron Harmon, can he step up to a bigger role? Are you going to draft a safety? And I'm not just trying to talk about safeties the whole time, but then Joe Thuney, Ted Karras, all these, David Andrews working. So the Patriots, you know, and they have, 3 third rounds and 4 6th rounds, but they don't have a second round pick, you know, so because Mohamed Sanu. So I think, and can he get healthy and get better? But I think the Patriots are at a point where they need to have a really good offseason too, because, you know, 2 years ago they win the Super Bowl. Last year's kind of a disappointment, but hey, does N'Keal Harry get better? Does Sony Michel take a step forward? If so, they're in great shape. But either way, you know, I look at it as, I think they're going to lose Joe Thuney. Somebody's going to throw a lot of money at him. Yeah. So if you lose Joe Thuney, then you got to hope David Andrews will come back and play center. But then you might have to extend yourself a little to sign Ted Karras, to move him over to guard, you know, to replace Thuney leaving. So I think the Patriots are in a really interesting spot where beyond Brady, there's a lot of decisions. You know, how much money do you want to give Devin McCourty? Do you want to extend for Kyle Van? They're getting old at linebacker. Van Noy's over 30. Hightower just turned, 31, 32?
Right.
So they're getting old. And Jawan Bentley's looked good, but he's only been in spot roles. You're probably going to lose Jamie Collins. So I just think Lawrence Guy even, now over 30, you know, who was arguably your best defensive lineman.
He's getting paid decent money, too, $5
million, and he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, Adam Butler has shown some things, but is he going to be a full-time, you know, starter in a year when Lawrence Guy leaves? You know,
Right.
So I just think the Patriots, beyond Brady, this is a really kind of precipice type offseason for them, and they can contend for another 5 years, or they're going to have a year or two where they get to the playoffs, but they're not really Super Bowl contenders because they're kind of reloading.
And we talked about this briefly last time, too, about how it's low-key super important they brought back Nick Caserio to help,
I think it's huge.
to go back when the draft finally happens. If people will be at the draft, who knows? We'll see. I don't think they made an initial statement on this because of the whole pandemic.
Players will get selected, though,
Yeah,
right?
so-
I hope players will be selected.
Whether phone or in person, or they were supposed to do it by boat or something like that. Anyway, there's some kind of shenanigans. But yes, they need to hit on the draft. They need to hit in free agency. And I think Caserio is big to help Bill Belichick. Because we like to, or not we, I'll put myself in this. I don't know if you guys do. We like to yell at the Patriots, oh, you don't maximize your efforts at putting pieces around Brady. I mean, you could say technically no. On the offensive side, not so much. They tried, with week 2, as you mentioned, John, with Gordon and Antonio Brown. But, the defense was the best in the league. So it's like, listen, you don't need to do as much time.
And you think they won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, they gave up 3 points.
Exactly.
I mean, and the other side of that is, like, the Patriots offense against the Rams, they moved the ball, but they only scored 13 points in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you lose that game. It's because they only gave up 3. And Jason McCourty with one of the best plays of the whole season, breaking up that Brandon Cooks touchdown. And just all these. But you're right in that. Yeah, maybe they didn't go out and get Randy Moss and Wes Welker in the offseason like years past, but they did invest and it paid off.
Right.
And I think this year, it's a really interesting spot because they're young at some crucial position. Left tackle, is Isaiah Wynn going to be fully healthy? Because when he's been healthy, I think he's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Is Sony Michel finally going to be at least a little bit of a pass-catching threat? Is N'Keal Harry going to understand it and be really good like he can be? I think at some of these crucial areas, they're kind of young, and are these guys going to take that? Is J.C. Jackson going to become a legit number 2 corner next to Stephon Gilmore? He's shown flashes. Is Juwan Bentley going to take a step forward? So it's a really, to me, up in the air, interesting precipice type offseason.
Like it. Very tumultuous indeed.
And then you got to look at the number 23 pick they have in the draft. Like, where does that going to fit in? Whether it's the offensive side of the ball, you have to assume that they're going to make a selection with that number 23 pick, because I feel like this is the first time in years that
you mean instead of trade? Yeah.
Yeah, like other years we've known, like, all right, we've had Brady. We know as long as we have Brady, we're going to compete. And we can trade this down and try to acquire more picks or whatever and try to make a trade for him. But I feel like this is a year you have a lot of needs that you need to address it with that number 23 pick at whatever position that may be on the offensive or defensive side of the ball.
Well, you know how Bill loves those second-round picks.
I
can take that 23, make it 2 seconds.
To go back to Devin McCourty, that year I think they had the 22nd or 23rd pick. They traded down twice, avoided picking Des Bryant, got McCourty, got some second-rounders. So I think if there's a player they like that they think, we can get him at 27, they'll try to trade down. But I think you're right, Walter, that they have to use whether it's 23 or they trade back a couple spots, they're going to have to get an impact player there. Whatever position, if it's a safety, if it's a new linebacker, defensive lineman, of course, tight end. We haven't even touched on tight end.
Yep.
Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry, each of those guys individually, I know Hunter Henry just got franchised, but they had more catches last year than Ben Watson and Matt LaCoste combined.
Yeah.
So it's like your tight end is a black hole right now. You
Really
got to
is.
do something.
Yeah. There it is.
Would you be upset if they took a tight end at 23?
If it's the best one, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
Or
not
top.
upset. No, actually, I'd be cool with that pick.
Yeah.
Get it right though.
Yeah. Is it not that it's another Gronk, but is it another high level tight
Is it
tight end?
Dwayne Allen? I'll be very upset.
Is it Randy
You know?
Moss's son
Right.
at 23?
Yeah. Hey.
Is he a high round
I don't-
projected?
He's
Or is he
weird 'cause
middle
he
roundish?
played like a little bit of wide receiver at LSU, but he really
He's a
he
big
walks in
dude.
the door of the room like you're like that's a tight end.
That's a big
You know?
dude. Yeah.
So I think it's got to be a guy, but in that mold that you don't. Okay, yeah, you can block, but we need somebody in the passing game to really make an impact.
Right. Yeah, trying to find that new Gronk. And this whole situation, obviously it ties into Brady. I think this is how, they kind of dismayed the Gronk situation, who will now maybe be at canceled WrestleMania. Who knows? I know. So, I don't know. What is going on? I think there's UFC. tonight.
There is that they're
We are
playing.
not. We are
There's
now
no fans, right? Or is there going to be fans?
No
or
fans. They're in
It's in
Brazil.
Brazil,
No
right?
fans.
Yeah.
No fans. So next week we are now a UFC podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Might
But,
have to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if the league year gets postponed.
Must
Yeah.
do some esports or something.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah, we'll start playing. We'll do a
Some
let's
cornhole
play.
in my backyard. We'll start.
Let's go.
Scouting and betting on it.
ESPN 8 the Ocho. Let's get it going.
Oh, back.
So there you go. When free agency begins and dominoes start to fall for real instead of speculation, we will be back, hopefully. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy. I'm Mason Sousa, Jon Lyons. Thank you very much for being here again. Dirty Water Media. Walter Sabina, TCAM TV, the brains over here. Thank you very much for listening on Twitter, on Facebook. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Facebook, Twitter. Be safe out there. Wash your hands.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you.
Stay clean.
Stay clean. We'll talk to you next time.